Juice, and we are here today to talk a little bit about sweetness in wine. I think this is a really misunderstood taste and concept, so I just kind of want to lay the groundwork so that we can get into interesting things like designations of Rieslings and Champagnes later on. So first off, sweet versus dry in a wine. I hear a lot of people ask or say they don't want a sweet wine or describe something as sweet that's not. So I can't sit here with you and drink and say, well, actually this is dry even though you're saying it's sweet. So I'm just gonna say, keep in mind as you drink in the weeks ahead, is this sweet or is it just fruity? Are you responding to a really ripe quality of fruit while the finish of the wine is actually dry? Or is the wine actually sweet? Does it leave you with that sugary taste in your mouth? Is it technically a dessert wine? Is it heavy? Another thing that I think people confuse for sweetness is oak treatment. Oak leaves an impression of, American oak leaves an impression of vanilla or coconut, and that sometimes can evoke, oh, sweet in your brain, but the wine might be dry. So I just want to posit the idea that maybe the wine you think is sweet isn't sweet to begin with. So that's one idea. I also want to dispel a certain notion that some grapes are inherently sweet, or some wines made from particular grapes are sweet just by their nature. Riesling in particular, because most people, a lot of people I see shy away from Riesling assuming it's sweet. So just like any other grape, it could be vinified sweet or dry. So Riesling by itself doesn't mean it's already guilty of being a sweet wine. For instance, I'm drinking Clemens Busch von Graue Schiefer Riesling 2016. I love this wine because it is bone dry. It's very mineralic. One way I know that is because it says Trocken right there, which means dry in German. We'll get to all those German words later, but here's a great example of a Riesling that's very dry. So keep that in mind. No one grape is going to make a sweeter wine than any other grape. The other thing I wanted to impart on you is there's a term you'll hear as we talk about sweetness called residual sugar, RS for short. This is just the sugar that's left over after fermentation, or sugars that haven't been fermented at all. You'll never see residual sugar accounted for on a bottle. That would be helpful, but it's not what we see. So that's actually what designates something having more or less sweetness than any other. Last but not least, sweetness has to do with balance. Lemonade works because it has the sweetness of the sugar and the acid of the lemon. Wine is the same way. When these two things are in balance, you may not even perceive something as being sweet. For instance, in the champagne making process, a little sugar is usually added at the very end of when the wine's almost finished. But that sweetening agent is really just creating balance in the wine. So most of the time, if you're drinking a brut champagne, you wouldn't think, oh, there's some extra sugar in here, but there is. Wines like Amarone have a little bit more residual sugar than others. So something to keep in mind. So if you like, I kind of skewed this video to people that shy away from sweet wine just because I seem to meet you more often. So if you like drier styles, just keep in mind, we'll get to the words later, words like sec, which means dry, in French, Trocken in German, and in the world of sparkling wine, Brut Natur, Extra Brut, and Brut are your friends. So we will get more into this, but I hope this was helpful and gives you something to think about as you drink. So cheers.